So you got the next question for next week, or is that have you got
Yeah,
more
I
questions
actually
about that?
do, because as a matter as it stands, just so happens that on Father's Day, so I can read the next question. I think that you and I will have a lot of fun answering next
Okay.
time. Question says, "You and Papa Raven seem to have such an honest and respective relationship. Has it always been that way? And how did you two accomplish that?" Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. It's Papa Raven and Raven Zero. Papa, how are you doing?
Doing just fine today, Raven. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's a good old state of Texas.
Good,
It's
good.
hot.
Yeah, it is hot. It's well, yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, everything's well. It's been a good day, so I'm looking forward to this conversation we're going to have today.
Yeah. This is going to be a good one. The last question we had was, you and Papa Raven seem to have such an honest and respective relationship. Has it always been that way? And how did you two accomplish that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's one I started laughing at the other day. Yeah, it does seem that, and we, yeah, I don't really have a script here.
Right.
I'm sure you don't. We're just gonna play it by ear and see what comes out.
Exactly.
I know that when they listen to the podcast, we seem to get along so well. It seems like we've always had that relationship.
Right.
Well, like any father and son, that's not true. We had our ups and downs. We had our hard times, our times when we were close, time we weren't close, time we had disagreements, just like everybody else does.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But we did. The beautiful thing is we did work through all that,
Right.
and now we probably have a model relationship for father and son for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I mean, mostly because of the foundation that I was brought up on. You and mom pretty much allowed me to be who I was as a shoot, all the way up to a young boy, all the way up to my 30s.
hmm So you had some freedom to be yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's good. I know that they have the term they call hover mom or windmill mom or whatever, where these
Right.
mothers who over their daughters so much and they can't breathe.
Yeah.
They want to control their daughter's life, and maybe the fathers too. I've seen them at football practice. They own the kid like they want to act like they're Emmitt Smith, and the kid is great, and they're just pushing the kid like really, but I
Right.
think you're a little bit too hard on them. You wasn't in the NFL,
Right.
so why you expect your kid to be so spectacular? They're a football player here, but a lot of times men would take their lack of something they didn't do and try to transfer it to their sons,
True.
and then make the son, make up for that thing that they weren't able to do.
Right.
I think that's one of the things with men relationship, men to men relationship. And one thing that you and I have that's unique, that you can't pay money for it, that we are best friends. Even though we are father son, we are best friends. That you can't buy.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
I mean, you have a lot of fathers that wish they had, some kind of relationship with their son at all, but it's not happening.
Right.
So I guess what you were saying is, from your standpoint, that just be one of the ways that you got here. You said was from the way you was brought up as a child.
Yeah. I mean, there were no preconceived expectations of what I was going to be or how I'm going to be brought up. There wasn't any. I think the only thing that y'all pretty much pushed hard for me was, when I'm going to school, to focus, stay on it. Friends, y'all, I'll give y'all that. Y'all were very, very good about making sure I had friends that were going to either push me forward or continue to meet me halfway when it came to a good friendship. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of parents out there that just let their kids roam with whoever they wherever they please, you know. And these kids are bad seed,
yeah,
you know.
those bad influences. I do remember one particular kid that you met
Hmm.
that we actually told us, we didn't necessarily want to do this,
Right.
but we actually told you that you couldn't be friends with him and he couldn't be allowed in our house.
Yeah. Yeah. I
He
remember that
was
very
he was
instance.
he was trouble,
Yeah, exactly.
and you could see him contemplating on how he could get away with stuff. And it's like, we're not gonna have that influence. I think he was about maybe 10, 12 at that point.
Yeah.
But like, we're not gonna have that influence coming in and coming into the home. And what he was trying to do is, when you got out of school, he wanted to come over, and it's just like, no, this is not gonna work.
Hmm.
So in a sense, we were protecting you as much as we could from what seemed like bad situations.
Yeah. That's huge, man. I mean, I'm blessed enough to have that two parents that can do that, you know, because there's single parent sons and daughters that get the same type of blessing, but that's not always the case when it comes to a lot of people. And I can imagine how it is, not having that, and then you have to go through life dealing with something like that, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna let you speak from your standpoint, but from my standpoint, I think the thing that had to happen was we had to, kind of let you be yourself, kind of let you do the thing that you wanted to do. At the same time, we had to kind of had ability to as you got older, to start treating you like an older person.
right.
In other words, when you start, getting old enough to drive or whatever, we start letting you do things you need to do. And I think one of the things that happens with men is once their sons become men, that's the problem.
Yep.
They want to treat a grown man like a kid,
Yeah, exactly.
and he's like, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm grown.
Right.
And I think that this thing really goes back to what we was talking about. The way to have any good relationship, you got to start with yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and what I mean by that is, if I had respect for myself and treated myself halfway decent, then some of that was going to be passed on to you.
Right. Right.
I didn't think I wanted to micromanage you and tell you what to do, and how to think, and what career you need to have and all that. Kind of just let you be free,
Hmm.
and we would just be there when you had any questions or whatever, but not try to introduce or interject everything you need to do in your life.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Based on the way we thought, we didn't do that.
For sure.
And I think that may be why you were able to navigate so well, because you had the ability to think for yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And for in my case, that worked for me was what you and mom did whenever there was like disciplinary action or even achievements or accomplishments or celebrations. It wasn't an extreme. It wasn't a negative extreme. It wasn't a positive extreme. I love that you guys kept a calm, realistic, like disciplinary action or a positive reinforcement. For instance, I don't even know if you remember this. I remember being at a grocery store. I must have been like 7, 8 years old. And there was a video game that was off to the side, and I was like, I want to play that video game. I want to play that video game, being a brat, And you, instead of being, like, nope, let's go home, you were like, you know what, let me go ahead and I remember you reaching into your pocket, pulling the quarter out, popping the quarter in, and let me play, right? Well, me being a little kid, not knowing, I think I lasted like 30 seconds. And I got upset because You're like, well, that's it, buddy. And I remember looking back now going, I threw the biggest tantrum on that store floor. Looking back going, I cannot believe I threw myself to the floor, threw the biggest tantrum, and I remember looking up at you expecting a reaction of like, and this is the sad part. I mean, I think we all do this as human beings. I expected either the reaction of you were going to give me another quarter to play, or you were going to pacify me in a way to where you understood my how upset I was. Either way, it was a negative response.
Right.
And you looked at me and you started walking out. You're like, okay, well, I'll see you later, buddy. And I'm like, what? Whoa. This is not the response. I was like, I better get my butt off the floor and go follow him, you know. And that was a crucial moment.
You were given a choice.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But it wasn't a choice you thought you were going to have.
Right. You know, until you said that, I actually realized that was probably the best way of handling, because had you given me the choice of another quarter, I would have just thrown that quarter in the machine, not even realizing you went ahead and let me play the game beforehand. I wasn't even grateful of that aspect.
Right.
And then had you came over to me and be like, hey, sorry, buddy, I just don't have any more quarters, blah, 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 blah. That's not, I'm a child. I don't need to be explained that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you actually just, and you didn't turn around angrily. You just turned around like, go ahead, have your tantrum. I'm going to the car. And I remember going, oh my goodness, I'm a little brat. You know. So, and then there's situations where mom was in the same boat. You know, I'd come home, you know, being in my teenage years, come home, slam the door, go get some water, and my mom would be like, hey, you mind kind of calming down with coming in here like that? And I'd be like, oh, she didn't say that rudely. She didn't say it angrily. I can't help but be like, sorry. You know.
Right.
And it's the calm approach, and I'll say that only worked with me. I'm one individual, and I think that's where y'all succeeded, was not trying to bring me up in a way of how you thought I was supposed to be brought up. Y'all actually just did it. Y'all molded to my personality and then adjusted it. Raised me from that.
Okay. So you're saying that we looked at your personality and your traits.
Yes.
And we tried to work with that as you was growing up.
Right.
Instead of trying to just make you act a certain way.
Yeah, because you're talking about, this is back in the 80s and 90s. You're talking about many parents. I mean, God bless you guys as parents. I don't know how I could have raised children back in that day, because there was very little help when it came to society help. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was always you handle your child the way you handle your child, and a lot of parents would just use the child's friends to bring those children up. And you guys are still there for me to correct that.
Yeah, they would just put them outside sometime and say, go out there and have fun.
Oh man. You know how many times I got upset about y'all telling me to check in every hour? I'm like, why I gotta check in every hour? So-and-so don't have to check in all day. And then 20 years later, oh, my parents actually cared if I came home or not, you know?
They actually want to know if I was safe out there or not.
Yeah, I was like, that makes sense. They want to make sure I'm still alive, you know?
Right. So I guess what I hear what you're saying is, a lot of your stuff started from your childhood.
Yeah.
From the foundations that you were raised around.
Yeah, thankfully early childhood. I think that's the most crucial part. Like I pretty much had a foundation super early in my childhood, which helped.
Okay, so let's talk about now that you're an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And the childhood, those days have since gone, but now we have a good relationship.
Yeah.
As far as the fact that we don't have really, I think what people want to know is how we get to the relationship. So I want to give them an idea what it is. We don't have really any disagreements. We don't have any hard feelings. We don't really get mad at each other where we stay that way.
Right.
We always, no matter what the situation is, we always have respect for each other. And we let the other person be themselves. I'm talking about both ways now.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Talking about both ways. So since you're my son, I don't have this, I'm the father and I know what's right for you.
Right.
And at the same time, you have developed, seems to me, a sense of, I know what I know. If I think I need some information that I might need, I can ask.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you come from enough to ask me, but I'm not, at the same time, I think one that helps us be a good relationship, I'm not going to introduce you and tell you what to do with your life.
Precisely. And what y'all don't do is, if I do come to you with a, let's say, a life scenario, the first thing y'all don't do is go, we've told you this before,
Right.
or
right.
you don't come going, you're just now starting to learn this. It's never a sense of, I told you so, or get ready because we're about to sit down and give you a life lesson. It's never anything like that, which is why it's so easy to approach you. I can actually have a conversation, or vice versa. I can easily, if I have a question or if I'm thinking about something that's kind of bothering me, you and mom are a text or a phone call away, and vice versa. If there's something that's bothering y'all, you can text me or call me, and none of us have actually been like, well, what do you call me for? And
right,
we
right.
both listen. We both go, okay, oh yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Thanks. And unfortunately, there's quite a few people out there with relationships with fathers, mothers, where they won't dare say anything to their parent because they don't want to get hit with the, be treated like a baby. And you're 45 years old. Why are they calling you and treating you like that?
Right. Yeah, it sounds like, I'm trying to put the words, it sounds like, I don't want people to think we had a model family.
Right.
Where everything was perfect. That's not the case. But it does sound like that mom and I somehow had the ability to put the right things in place.
Yes.
To help you become the person that you are.
It's like I said before we ended the podcast last time, it honestly is about open discussion. Y'all didn't shield me from anything that was really happening in life, or you didn't pretend like XYZ was happening when I could clearly see when something else was happening. There was no lying when it came to that, which also helped me understand, like, oh, okay, y'all don't seem too upset by it, but I can tell it's a struggle, so I'm going to see how y'all handle it. This is how I was as a child, right? I was like, I'm going to see how they handle this, And each time there was never like I said, like you said, I don't want to come across as like, well, dang, did they do anything wrong? I was like, well, as parents, I mean, if y'all did do something wrong, probably because of the way I handled, the way I brought it to you,
Yeah. And, that's the thing I kind of want to avoid, because there are a lot of people that may not have the tools that we had.
There you go.
So basically what you're saying is, mom and I had the tools that help you develop all the way through life, so when you became an adult, it was easy for us to maintain a good relationship.
That's exactly it.
Now those situations when we did have some disagreements. Sometimes where you thought I was doing something that wasn't correct, or didn't like the way I was doing things, and we had a couple of heated moments there.
Right.
but we did allow each other to, if we was angry, to say what we had to say,
Right.
and say what you need to say and get it out. And then, but one thing that we did do that was probably good is we tried to always keep respect
Yeah, absolutely.
in our relationship. We never got so angry where we forgot who we were talking to.
And that's the one thing I will praise y'all on. We've never been a family to where even if we didn't agree, we stopped talking to each other. I don't think I've ever we got to the point where I just didn't call you because I was upset. It was usually squashed the same day. you know.
Yeah, you were not allowed to go to your room and slam the door.
Yeah, exactly.
And walk off and say, "That's it, I'm not talking."
Right.
You had to come back out and sit down at the table and say, "What's going on with you?
Right. Right.
What are you angry about?"
Right.
And that's kind of what you're saying. We developed those habits when you were younger,
Mm-hmm.
the communication habits, so it was easier when you got older
Yes.
to keep that going.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that we do right for people who want to learn is we keep our communication open and honest and respectful.
Yep. Bingo. Bingo.
And we try, this is what you said, we try not to judge each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when we make a mistake, because, I make mistakes, I'm the dad, but I have made mistakes just like you have.
Yeah.
And if you saw a mistake, we got to the point where we could actually talk about it. And I had to get to the point where, this is where maybe men need to hear this. I had to get to the point where I had to understand it's not wrong for me to go to my son and say, "I'm sorry for what I said."
Yeah, true.
Or what I did. I couldn't be that person and say, "I'm the dad and I know everything and that's it." I had to get to the point where I said, "I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I apologize for that." I remember one day your wife did something. It was no big deal, but the way I spoke to her was inconsiderate. It was not respectful. I mean, it wasn't any negative words or anything like that.
Right.
But it wasn't a positive tone. And you came to me and you said, "Don't talk to my wife like that. You don't speak to her like that." And I said, "Okay, I listened to you." And I guess the next day or so, I actually came to you and her, and I said, I apologize. I'm sorry
Yeah. Yeah.
for my actions." And I did say, "I'm sorry for my actions." Now, my actions, I did them. I said I was in a bad place
Right.
when I did it, but that doesn't give me the excuse to talk to somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized that we had a good relationship, because even though, I did something wrong, you were upset, it was wrong to her, we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I squashed it, and then I also let you know, or you and her know, that I'm human too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mess up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not some robot that know every answer to every question and every way to act. That's not me.
Right.
And I remember one time you told me, you said you was going to be having a hard time trying to live up to who I was.
Right.
And I think I kind of told you you need to set your sights higher than me.
Yep. Yep.
I'm not the model. Go higher than me. I'm not some perfect individual. I got problems I have to deal with like everybody else.
Right.
So I guess I was honest with you and told you, even though from the way you're looking at, I'm not no perfect person.
Right.
I got issues like everybody else.
Exactly.
And I want you to know that, so that you wouldn't be carrying around some unrealistic trait that dad knows everything, he's perfect. No, I didn't want that.
That helped hugely, because what that did was relieved me of something that I thought I had to fulfill, right? And as soon as you said that, I
Right.
was like, oh man, weight lifted off my back. I was like, okay, I can go forward with this information.